Hello and welcome back to the channel where we are making a video game from scratch using Love2d and Lua. I think I want to track down this bug we found yesterday. It was a game-breaking bug, so it was just bugging me that it was happening. So look, if we get shot and die into a chasm, see, we crashed there. So something happens where if, normally there's two things that can happen with a death. You either die while you're not falling, or you die when you are falling. And if you die when you are falling, it's supposed to bring you into the falling chasm state. But here, it looks like our entity is crashing because it's trying to draw a quad on an argument 2 on player death state 23. So let's check out player death state. Okay, so it crashes here because we were falling. Now it said bad argument number 2, so the quad that it's trying to pull from is bad right here. So maybe it means we don't have a current animation for the player. But this is also only if the green tunic is equipped. This is because we have a character death green tunic and then a character fall green tunic. Okay, so it looks like it didn't crash on the base layer of the player, right here. It didn't crash here, so it rendered our player fine. It's just that since a green tunic was equipped, and see this player death state. This player death state. All it does is, man, when do we do this? Do we initialize this when we make the entity? Because if the quad is busted, which I'm assuming means that the animation was not right. So maybe we can say that this gets or 1. Just so it's a valid number if there's no current animation, just to see if it fixes the crashing. Oh that wasn't it, that wasn't it. Yeah, it doesn't like it. So it definitely doesn't like it. Get current frame, get current frame. Let me just see. Like, I'm trying to just pinpoint what exactly is crashing. I'm assuming it's because this anim was like going to be nil and we can't. It's expecting a specific quad from our global frame. So like, I'm just gonna try doing, just say the first frame here so that it doesn't crash on a nil quad, right? Okay, so that did correctly not crash us, but it didn't render the right frame for the player. So I can't tell if, because like we're passing in the player instance to the death state, but that should be the global player. I'm kind of curious I don't know what will happen, but if we put our global player here, global player current animation, that should be the same thing, but I'm just curious to see if that'll be the same. We want to say that anim get current frame. Okay, so let's see if this is the same crash. Okay. It just doesn't like the quad, man. So something in the death state is just not getting... You know, like if we turn this off, we have the green tunic equipped. So let's try to... You know, we shouldn't crash here. But then I want to try to unequip the tunic and see if we crash. So, let's see. Okay, cool. So yeah, we don't crash there. But I'm curious if we unequip the green tunic, which... tunic equipped. Oh, okay. We should be initializing this somewhere. You know, maybe it's in the player class. Right here in the play state, we do this. Okay, so we want to say, you know what? No tunic is equipped. Because we're still indexing an animation in the player falling state without the tunic equipped, so I'm assuming we'll crash here as well. We didn't fall into the chasm, so it didn't work. Let's see. Okay, we didn't crash there. Okay. So if we didn't crash there, I guess I'm just curious how the player death state is kind of being invoked. Now we pass in the global player to the death state here on the init. So it has a reference to, you know, the reference of the G player, the global player. So since the player death has a reference to the player, then when we change it, when we change the state machine to here, it should be doing this where we say, okay, we're going to get the current animation. Now, what's weird is that this... okay. No, okay. It makes sense why we didn't crash. It's just that this is whether or not we're falling or not once we die, once the green tunic is equipped. But we're crashing here. So we do have... See, and this is what's so weird. We aren't crashing when we index the global frame of our anim texture at index of our current frame. That's essentially all we're doing here. We're going into our global frame table. We're going into our texture, which in this case is character death green tunic. And then we're going into the quad of the same quad that we're going into for our base layer animation. Meaning if we're on frame 1, we go frame 1 on the tunic because we matched it like that. So this is kind of telling me that it's not that this is indexing a nil value, it's that it's got to be in here. So if we typed this wrong, if this character death green tunic wasn't the right texture, then it would be incorrect if a green tunic's equipped. So let's see if we spelled that right or imported it right. I think it's in our dependencies. We say player death. What was it? Character death. Character death, green tunic. So if this is incorrect, character death, green tunic, and character fall, green tunic. Let me just make sure we have these. So we have falling sheet, green tunic. Character death and fall. So falling sheet, green tunic we have, and then we should have player death green. Player death green. We do have it. So it is... Okay, so this is the non-falling one. So this is if we die, you know, on ground. But then, so player death green, and then the falling... What is it? Character fall, green tunic, which is falling sheet, green tunic. Falling sheet, green tunic. Which also looks to be a valid sprite. So there are... I guess the only thing that would make this crash is if we don't have like the... I want to say if we don't have the same amount of quads that it would crash here. But it's not wanting me to open an A sprite. Falling sheet, green tunic. Okay. So it looks like we have 8. I can't count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So there are a total of 10 frames for the quads, and that should match up with our player fall. So if we open up our player fall, we should also have 10. So falling sheet, we have 4, and then 4, and then 9 and 10. Yeah. So they should be the same. Okay, so what do we check now then? Because we checked that we imported the quad correctly, right? It's this character death green tunic in the player death state. What? Player death state. What the heck? Character death, green tunic. Character death, green tunic. Yeah, we spelled it right and everything. So the fact that this is still, and the thing is too, it doesn't crash until we're like done. Until we're done falling. It renders all the frames correctly until we're like switching into the state character chasm fall state, maybe. So like maybe if we just test, we'll turn this back on, but we'll go to where we do a falling chasm state. Let's see. Where do we change? See, we change to a player death here. I'm thinking that when we switch to the falling chasm state. So what is this falling chasm state called in the state machine? It's called chasm falling state in the global state machine. So when we change to a chasm falling state, when we change to that, what is happening? Because part of me is thinking like, oh, you know what? I think we have to change the state. Okay. When we fall in a chasm, we render the shrinking Tashio, right? Which is a player fall, is him shrinking. But we have another state machine that is him spinning. And it's crashing because we're trying to, I think it's because we're trying to render the green tunic on the spinning Tashio, but it has a different amount of quads versus the falling Tashio instead of the swirling Tashio, or whatever we call it. So I want to say chasm falling state. If we die here, I think we also want to change our player's state. I think we want to change it to what is it called? It would be where, I don't even know where we define it. We have a meditate state, and is it on our player meditate on the player state machine, player meditate. Okay, so yes, this, oh my gosh. Okay, so the player death does two different things, right? It either renders the current frame of the twirling and dying or the falling into a hole and dying, but it isn't responsible for the non-stop twirling that our player does in the falling chasm state. So what that does is, let's see where we render the player, see how we're doing this. This one isn't broken. Yo, Kavictus, what up, dude? This one isn't broken like the other one is, but actually this is broken because if our green tunic is equipped, we crash. But we don't crash here in the chasm state, we crash in the player death state. So part of me is thinking maybe we just don't. Maybe we switch from the player death state. I'm not exactly sure. Cuz this is where this would mess up, right? because we're trying to index a frame that our current player's at, but our current player's animation isn't the swirling animation unless we changed it here. So the animation, where do we like reassign the animation here? We do it right here to a chasm fall animation. Okay, so I think this is what we need right before we switch to, I think we want this. Right after we change to a chasm falling state, we're going to change our player's animation to the chasm fall, so it's not the shrink falling, but the spin falling one. And then I think... ideally that fixes our issue, but I don't think it will. Let's see. Oh, we need the green tunic equipped to see it anyway. Oh, nice. I mean, yeah, that sucks, dude. I mean, hopefully it was good for you. We didn't crash, but this wasn't the right thing. We want to go to the falling chasm? No, player death state. Yeah, so it was right here because green tunic was equipped. Okay, so yeah, we do need to go pop on our green tunic again. So tunic equipped is green tunic like this. Is that right? If I type that wrong, it would crash. Oh, okay, we got green tunic equipped. That's good. That's good. It's not rendering the fall correctly. It's not rendering the right frames on the fall. That's for sure. I thought we had fixed this though. Green tunic, that looks right. 'Cause it's that character fall if we're falling. Okay. Yo, I'm doing okay. I'm I don't know, I've just been really low energy and stressed out. I'm like kind of in the middle of moving. Like we're not like moving right now, but we're like getting a new place and like doing all that stuff. So I think it's just been really stressful on me and it's just tough. And I've been trying to run too, so I've been just tired and exhausted and stressed, so it's been a lot. But we're trying to finish the demo, dude. We're trying to finish it. It's just all this stuff, like this little bug I didn't know was in here. You know, spending a whole night tracking it down, and it's like I still don't know what's wrong. Yeah, part of me wants to even just like redo how we do this death state. Because at this point we're not even doing the correct rendering for the green tunic either. So like I wonder if we just try the character. Oh, see, look, it must not think we're falling because it's rendering the death green tunic instead of the fall green tunic. So let me just see if we can say fall, because I think when the player's dead we might stop updating its... See, look, like the green tunic rendered there fine. It's just that, see, it renders there fine, and it renders there fine when we die in the chasm, but it doesn't render okay if we do this edge case of we only have 1 health remaining and then we get shot by a bat into a chasm. Yes. So that's why we crash, is just the not falling. So it's kind of looking like I used to think that, well, no, it's still rendering the wrong sprite sheet though. So it must... When do we trigger this death state? When do we trigger this player death state? It's just called player death. So player death. And we trigger it here. If our health is smaller than or equal to 0 and we're not already dead, we become dead, then we change our state to player death. Okay. That's all we do. Okay, so at some point we die, and then it goes to render the green tunic that is above the non-falling in chasm animation, but we go and fall into a chasm. So it needs to switch over from one animation to the next depending on if we are actively falling or not. So I guess what we can do is print up if the player is falling and see if by the moment we die and then fall into a chasm, if it actually properly updates. Because if he's dead, it might not update his falling status if he's dead. So if that's the case, then he wouldn't be considered falling when he is falling after he's dead. This is like gibberish, but I think this might show us what's going on. So let's just try to do it here. Oh, dude, we started doing this. We already started printing this up in the play state. This is printed? Yo, sounds good, Kavictus. Have a good morning, I guess. Oh, it registers us falling. What the fuck? It's clearly wrong though. I mean, it's right when we spawn into a fall, but it's wrong when we die into a fall. So see, look, like that. Like that's perfect. Like that we render it fine. Yo, peace out, dude. Yeah, I mean we render the green tunic fine there. Okay, so it's just this edge case of when we die, and yeah, it's just this edge case of if we die and then fall into a pit. So where is that even? Because we're doing some triggering where we're saying if we die, trigger your death animation, but then if while in your death animation you're in range of a chasm, then we're not going to flip you and sit you on top of a chasm if you get knocked into it. So we're doing that switch somewhere. And it's not just here. You know, we do this thing where we say, all right, well, you got no health, you're not already dead, go ahead and become dead. So it's got to be in the player death state, right? Like, because at some point, let's try this. Player death state. Okay. So one thing we're not doing is, well, are we updating? I don't know. Part of me wants to just do this. No. Okay, so when we die, like this is what's crap, dude. So how... I'm curious how we're rendering the tunic in the right spot when we're not dying, but yet when we are dying... Okay, I think the issue comes down to the offset of the timing, right? Because every death, every damage you take isn't a death, right? So it's like if we have full health and we fall, that's not a death, that's just a getting hurt. So once we get hurt enough to cause a death, then at that very instant we're saying, well, are we falling? Well, no, the falling's getting updated correctly. So why is it that when we're dead, because we only become dead once if we have 0 health, right? So at some point we're rendering the tunic in the right spot when we fall, but it's not rendering the right tunic when we're dead. So that's telling me that I don't know, because it renders the character falling before it does that death timer thing. So why couldn't we, and why doesn't it work like it does already outside of the death? So let me just see, like, because it is working, right? It's working because we are... See, look, the green tunic renders the right frames, and it renders there too. But it doesn't work, and let's just see. It doesn't work if we get shot into it. If we get shot into it, if we die and then fall into it, that didn't crash, but that didn't render the tunic above us. It didn't render it on top of us, which it should have. So where are we rendering? Is it in the player class? No. Dude. Who made this game? Okay, so we're gonna go into the states for our player, and it looks like it might be in what? The walk state? Let's print up the state we're in. So we should have, is it called state name? I think it's just a player state global. Let's try that. So we're trying to see what state we're in when we fall, which sometimes it's a idle, sometimes it's a walk. So it's rendering the tunic. It's rendering the tunic correctly for both idle and walk state. It's just that when we die, it's not doing it. So the code for rendering the tunic is maybe, let's check our entity class. And see if we have any falling. No? Is it in our player class? And we have falling. This isn't where the render is, so it might be... Is it just literally in every state for the player? So let's see. We know it works in the idle state. And it looks like, you know, first thing we do is we snag the animation. Then we render our base layer. Then if we're falling, then if our tunic is equipped, then we're going to do the same thing we're doing everywhere else in the player death state. So it's working. It's working here in the idle state, no problem. Because this is what's giving us, you know, oh, that's actually if we're not falling. This is if we are falling. But we're doing the same thing where we say, get the anim texture, right, of the character fall green tunic. So if we go to our player death state. Yeah, and we look at this. We're doing the same thing, other than we do an anim texture instead of the G-frame switch. We typed it in longhand, so that should work either. But just to see if we are falling, let's try to do the anim texture here. Let's just see. Oh my god, that worked. That worked. Did we type in the quad wrong? Or the texture wrong? Did we really just type in the texture wrong and that's why it was broken? We had this texture of character death, or character... What was it? Yeah, character death green tunic in the G frames. Character death green tunic. Character death green tunic. Okay. I'm not gonna complain. I'm gonna put the fix and test it one more time, and hopefully we're good. Let's see. So this is if the green tunic is equipped, we're in the death state, and we're falling or we're not falling. So let's test both. Let's test us not falling and get shot and see if the green tunic renders above our death animation. Yeah, looks right. That looks right. Now let's do a normal fall, and then we'll do the janky fall. So normal fall. Yeah, it works. It works. It works. Okay, so let's try the janky fall now. Here's the moment of truth. We're trying to get shot and die and get blasted into a chasm. So we're going to taunt this guy, and then... It works. It works. Okay. I mean, I guess it was just a texture indexing issue. I don't know, but it's working. So let's get rid of our debug and then commit. So let's see. We also in a chasm falling state. We are also doing this. Okay. Okay. I think this is okay. Nice, man. Okay. All right, we will commit. Call it a night. Gotta wake up early tomorrow. Okay. I'll just say what? Fix chasm death animation bug. I don't know. All right. We will run credits and write out. So thanks for watching. I'll be back tomorrow. We'll be making some more progress on the game, and we're gonna die here, aren't we? But we will. Let's see. The bats, man, the bats. All right. Well, that's it.